Welcome back. The story of heavy monsoon rains every year may sound like a very old and tired one. We see it each year. There are few days of incessantly heavy rains. Our infrastructure really goes for a toss, almost seems like it was modeling clay that made up these cities. Walls collapse. You have floods across several streets, and this time round you've seen, of course, maximum city Mumbai battered as usual with loss of lives, over 30 people dead. You've had rains and floods in Gurugram, in Delhi. There are heavy rain alerts in Uttarakhand and in several states and districts of the country. We have to now start asking ourselves what the bigger picture here is. Why are we seeing this extent of rains every time? Is it just that these cities are poorly made? I'm sure that's the reason as well. There's rampant construction, all of your drainage systems are blocked, there's possibly a lot of corruption, which is why your repair works just go on incessantly. All of that is definitely there. But I think it's time we also ask the bigger question about climate change, because widen your lens a little bit, and this is not something that's happening only in India. Over the last couple of days, over 150 people have died in floods in Germany. Europe has witnessed its worst floods in the last 6 decades, and look at all of the instances we're seeing year after year. Sometimes they're wild raging forest fires like in California, that typhoons which kill several hundreds of people. Is there a pattern here is the question that we're asking today. To speak on this, I'm joined now by Avantika Goswami. She's Deputy Program Manager Climate Change at CSE, Saurabh Bhardwaj, Fellow and Area Convener at TERI, G.P Sharma, President of Meteorology at Skymet, and Rishi Agarwal, who's an urban planner, also joins us on the show. Let me speak with Mr. Sharma first. Mr. Sharma, before I get to the big question of climate change, just if you can share information on what the situation is looking like with the rains. We know that there's a red alert for Mumbai for tomorrow as well.
Yes, Tamanna, Mumbai has been raining incessantly heavy for the last 3-4 days. Even at the time of onset, you remember around 9th or 10th of June, 9th of June, when it set in, we had a extremely heavy rainfall, even at that point of time. And incessant rains have continued in between also. And the fresh one, which is there now for the last about 3 to 4 days, it's playing havoc with the system, okay? Halfway through the season, not even halfway through the season, just about 10-11 days to go, we are almost completing the seasonal rainfall as of now. Nearly about 2,000 millimeter of rainfall has already been received in these days, commencing with 1st of June, which is huge. Obviously, the averages which are there, they are being surpassed every now and then, and we see our infrastructure therefore collapsing to cater for all these changes in the weather which are being noticed, particularly cities like Mumbai, which obviously it's very, very important. It goes into the news, it goes into the media, people watch it, and it happens every now and then. The other day, like even Delhi was submerged with heavy rains of the season, first of the season of this kind, and we saw it happening here. So it is again, it's not only one city, it is many others also. And then what we notice, you correctly mentioned, like the climate change, we see its effect. It's a reality at the moment that we are into it. We are into the climate change, and we see the weather events, the high impact on the weather sensitive events again on the rise, and the intensity, frequency, everything, be it in the oceans, be it over the land, be it the flooding events, cloud burst, lightning, you name a thing, we see a vast change, sea change in that happening. And all that speaks for a climate change. Okay, we need to take it seriously. It's no longer in the domain of only the weathermen. It has become an issue of multidisciplinary, multi-speciality, I will say, operationalization. So there is a need of integration of all that, and then take it as a national asset and make it optimum utilization address all these issues. Okay, I will say that there is a great need at the moment to address these issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, absolutely. First, there is a need to recognize the issue, and only then can we address it. So let's start there. Avantika Goswami, if you can explain to us whether it would be correct to put down these seasonal but unusually high levels of precipitation down to climate change, and can you explain how that happens?
Sure. Thank you for having me on here, and thank you to Mr. Sharma for his opening comments. So, as he mentioned, climate change, the impacts are being increasingly visible on our infrastructure, on our daily lives, and it is no longer just a singular, a couple of days of unusual weather, which the weather department needs to be concerned by. It's a multidisciplinary, multi-sectoral problem that it's turning out to be. So typically among the earth and environmental sciences, attribution science has been the most elusive. And what that is in the most simple terms, it's the science of putting responsibility of unusual weather patterns and other temperature and other climatic extremes, connecting that with anthropogenic or human-driven activity. So that's what attribution science does. But that science is evolving now, and a couple of very conclusive studies now have reported that the Indian monsoons, among multiple other climatic behaviors, are becoming more extreme, more erratic, and more dangerous as global warming intensifies. Global warming is one of the symptoms of a changing climate. So we are increasingly getting a scientific consensus which says that as global temperatures continue to rise, Indian monsoon rainfall is firstly going to increase. A recent study by the Potsdam Institute in Germany asserted that for every degree Celsius rise of temperature, monsoon rainfall would increase by 5% in the future. We're also seeing that the monsoons are becoming more erratic. So typically the Indian monsoon has been one of the most stable weather systems, but it has been shifting. The length of the monsoon has been extending recently. We're also seeing a much higher number of extreme rainfall days, so days on which rainfall exceeds a certain minimum threshold in a particular area. And all of these symptoms have been linked to increasing temperatures around the globe. So at this point, with a fair degree of confidence, we can say that climate change is making these extreme weather events like extreme rainfall much more intense and much more frequent.
Saurabh, is it now a situation where even the government and the authorities that need to are taking cognizance of the fact that this is not normal, that every year you have such high precipitation that everything, just collapses? And here again, we are not for a minute pardoning poor construction and infrastructure in some of our biggest cities. That's definitely the case, and we'll speak to Rishi about it in a minute. But there is another story going on here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you, Tamanna, for having me. Well, as my fellow panelists say, science has been very clear about this. And even the government has taken cognizance on it. And even IPCC reports, which are a global amalgamation of all the studies globally, put into a very concise form for a policymaker to understand. And it has actually these reports have helped these policymakers to draft action plans. India has started doing National Action Plan on climate change many, many years back. And even at the state level, we have been now revising these action plans to take cognizance of these extremal behavior of climate parameters at a very granular level. So the government has taken into considerations such externalities and extremal behaviors at a very high resolution, and have been developing action plans at a very granular scale, and have been inviting academia, NGOs, civil societies, and having public-private partnerships into it to help them.
Sorry, just to stop you there. No,
Sure.
what is the action plan? What is the action plan at a granular level that you're talking about? Because I mean, I don't see anyone in any position to do something. Even, you know, they're using climate change as an excuse, saying, oh, what can we do about it? There's climate change. But what are we doing to reverse those steps? What are we doing to make sure that the places where people live are safe?
Right. So of course, if you say granular level actions at the municipality level, we are still yet to see those. Absolutely. But at the national scale, the establishment of CDRI, Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, or building up of international solar alliances. Now, such kind of measures at national scale have ensured that we are doing many things, like for mitigating these carbon emissions, so that the global warming that we have been seeing, or we will be seeing in the future, is mitigated to a level, say 2 degrees warming, or less than 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees. But when you talk of the actual impacts that are being felt at a very small scale, now we have a limitation on many things to present that. The first and foremost is the data, right? Do we have a very high granular risk level data sets that can help guide the policy? No, we don't. Do we have a very high resolution modeling infrastructure that can help us evoke or predict such kind of extreme rainfall in, say, 3 hours time or 6 hours time? Yes, we are getting to it. So it's a slow moving process. I'll give you an example, Tamanna. The loss of life.
That's what is important.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So the decrease in the loss of lives that we have seen with respect to the cyclones has been tremendous. And it's for us to see that the investments in climate sciences, the investments in climate modeling, and at the national level, at the regional level.
You're talking about decrease of loss of life. 33 people have died in Mumbai. And that is the numbers that we count and we know. And like one of our speakers said, this is a city which gets undue and a large amount of media attention. I don't even know what's happening in so many other parts of the country. Let me go across to Rishi. Okay, now there's a very dangerous combination over here, Rishi. One, we know that our cities are badly built. This is no secret. And on these decrepit cities, there's an attempt to fix something every year which fails miserably the moment there is a heavy downpour. Then you have this coupled with climate change and even heavier downpour. I mean, if you've had most of the rain coming in 11 odd days, then what kind of infrastructure is going to stand up?
Absolutely, Tamanna. I would just like to combine what Mr. Sharma also said about how bulk of the quota of rainfall has already been completed. And while it is 19th of July, I mean, just 10 days back, between 1st of July and 10th of July was extremely hot. Nobody got to see any rain and everybody was actually complaining, which means that, and July is generally a month where you don't get to see the sun at all. And we got to see a lot of sun. It was very hot. And then suddenly in the past 3-4 days, the situation has deteriorated. And here we are. So any amount of infrastructure, I mean, this is a city which has seen 26 July 2005. And while some of us were speaking about Brimstowad even before that, but Brimstowad, which is Brihan Mumbai Stormwater Drain Project, became a buzzword after 2005. But we are realizing that whatever were the recommendations of Brimstowad in terms of improving drainage capacity for water, letting water to flow out, etc., has also become outdated because it did not model in extreme rainfall events. So, and in the past 5 years, that is what we are seeing, 5 to 10 years, that in a July, you would have seen from 1st of July to 30th of July, rainfall evenly spread. Again, in the past 2-3 days, we've seen bulk of the rainfall. So I think infrastructure is, we'll have to completely rethink the conversation around infrastructure, and we'll have to do it very fast. Because I think my panelists will also agree that this whole phenomenon of extreme rainfall or extreme weather events is only going to increase in the next decade or two. And we don't have much time to sit and have long conversations.
we don't have much time. I think we're in the middle of it, and maybe many people are not realizing. Avantika, is there now scope to reverse this, or do we now need to start planning how to live through these bouts of very heavy rainfall?
Yeah, that's actually a very it's a $1 million question, and typically, the very popular response nowadays has been to sort of give in to despair and talk about, this is the end of everything. But just speaking both at a broader climate crisis scale as well as at a more domestic scale, all of this is absolutely stallable, reversible. We can build our cities without sacrificing our wetlands and floodplains and river watershed areas. We can arrest unmitigated climate change by curbing the use of fossil fuels. Yes, it's absolutely reversible. All it requires is, I think, as Mr. Sharma mentioned right at the beginning, sort of a multi-sectoral collaborative approach across all economic sectors, much more the incorporation of climate resiliency guidelines into the design of our infrastructure. And purely, this year, the theme of climate change is for the upcoming UN COP26 climate meeting is around, one of the themes is around nature-based solutions. So conserving our natural ecosystems, which in the case of extreme rainfall, they serve the role as sponges in cities, and they play the role of green infrastructure. So conserving and expanding our natural or green infrastructure, these are all multiple ways in which we can arrest this growing crisis, both at the international as well as the domestic and municipal scale.
The question really is that will we start taking cognizance that this is because of climate change? I think Avantika has left us on a very positive note that we can reverse this. All is not lost. Of course, you need a lot of people to come together. You need not just one country, but you need several countries to come together and recognize what is happening. On the other hand, you need to start building to prepare for these kind of natural events which will wreak havoc unless we are better prepared for them. With that, I hope all of you stay safe in the middle of this deluge wherever you are. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us this evening on the India Development Debate. We'll be back right here, same place, same time tomorrow.